Um, all right, we're going to record now, so I'll start over and I'll say that I like the fact sometimes I enjoy being thought of as some like one of those crazy artists. You've all heard that, right? Say
Yep.
something.
Yes, Charles
Another
cannot
way.
be a normie.
All right, yeah, we don't want to be normal, and so that's why I put this together. And who is this? This guy looks like somebody like from SNL, doesn't he? Maybe. Wayne somebody? Is that who that is?
I
Anyway,
don't know if that's him, but it looks like him.
okay. So this is not this is just the intro image. But I want to show you some of these people that I'm sure you've heard about as being difficult people, let's say. Like Caravaggio is certainly the art's original bad boy. And for a lot of different reasons, he slept around, he got into duels, he killed a guy in a knife fight. And he may have worked part-time as a pimp and once assaulted one of his artistic rivals with a sword. Oh,
Wow.
oh. And somehow in the midst of all that, he did some really extraordinary paintings, right? I want you to say something so I don't feel like I'm,
Yes, that is a
Is
crazy backstory.
yeah.
is that a self-portrait that he did?
This is a self-portrait. Good question. I didn't mention that. And I'll just show you. I just grabbed one of his paintings. Is one of my
Ooh.
favorites. This is The Calling of St. Matthew by Caravaggio. And he's just extraordinary. And I think everyone loves Caravaggio, right? Late
Hmm.
Renaissance Baroque.
Yes, but I was surprised with his portrait because most of his work is really dark like this. And so his portrait is more light looking.
Yeah, it's a drawing, but pastel drawing, but yeah, much of it's very dark and dramatic like this. And he lived a kind of a chaotic life, but he continued to get major commissions, and he died fairly young, as you would imagine. And all this violence that he seemed to keep getting into eventually caught up with him when he was in 1600 jumped by a man in a tavern and seriously wounded and died from his wounds. So
Wow.
Oof.
yeah, but
I've read about this picture, Charles, and so I'm looking closely. They said that he painted the people's legs under the table and
Mhm.
that he took a table leg off. And I can't see it because it's
Oh,
so dark, but they said in real life the table would fall over. And I wondered if a lot of people are talking about that, but I've always been so busy looking at the faces and the arm that I just never paid any attention or didn't even notice that.
yeah. And the drama, the interesting way of thinking about form. Like, look at how that very dark shadow that comes down at an angle from the
Yes.
right, how
Yeah.
it just becomes tangent with the corner of the window, and
Yes.
Mhm.
everybody kind of stays within that shadow.
Yes.
It's really amazing artist to study, like make drawings of his paintings. So Caravaggio, and then Fra Filippo Lippi. These are not in chronological order, but he was 1452, and he was kind of interesting. This is a detail, but the Encyclopedia Britannica calls him a man dominated by his love affairs.
Hmm.
And despite this is kind of funny. I knew some of this, but not all of it. But despite this reputation, he was actually commissioned to do a painting in a convent of the nuns. So you can imagine how that turned out, right? He actually ended up kidnapping one of the nuns.
No, oh my gosh.
Now, um, uh, and I'm not sure about one of them. I believe that he had a brother who was a painter too, but one of them was put in a monastery. Like sometimes they just want to get people out of the way, so they put him in a monastery. But he didn't really take to the religious life, and was either thrown out or left before too long. But here, he's just an amazing painter, and here's one of his more beautiful paintings, I think. Madonna with a Child and Two Angels.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Quite a contrast to his life.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that a doorway she's in or a window?
Well, that's hard to say, but it frames a beautiful landscape that is kind of reminiscent of the landscape that's behind the Mona Lisa, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Wow.
So just an extraordinary early Renaissance painter. And this one, I put this in because of the next two artists I want to talk about. Now, who are they? That they were known to be competitive in the high Renaissance, the major part of the Renaissance. What two big name
Michelangelo
artists?
and Leonardo.
Yeah, Michelangelo and Leonardo. Good. Arm wrestling, okay? Anyone want to guess who's who?
I can't, I didn't recognize them, Charles. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Michelangelo on the left, Leonardo on the right.
No, other way. Good try, though.
Well, I mean,
Did it.
the way I look at, of course, Michelangelo has the hat.
Well, you might be right. I'm assuming that I know, but you might be right. So we'll discuss it in class further, all right?
Okay. That's
But
bad. We
they
need
had
a
it.
bet.
It's what?
Let's have a bet.
It's something about the hat. I don't know if that's really now that you brought it up, I'm not sure who's who. Leonardo was a little older, but they did have a competition going on for a mural painting, and typically neither one of them finished the mural. But I did want to first show you. This is a portrait of Leonardo. That we don't know the name of the artist. It's tempera on panel. It was painted in the 15th century, and it was discovered in a cupboard in a house in Italy in 2008.
How lovely.
Yeah, kind of damaged, but you never know what you're going to find in a cupboard, right?
It depends on whose house it is.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, yeah, this is they did studies. They called them cartoons, but they were studies that were going to be murals of this battle. Leonardo was a study of the Battle of Angari, it was called. And there was a problem often with Leonardo. He experimented, and the paint wouldn't dry, or the wall. They said the wall wouldn't dry. I assume that meant from previous reading that he's got the painting going, and it just wouldn't dry, and they abandoned the whole thing and scrapped it. But this is a study that he did for it, a famous battle. They were always doing battle scenes. And you can see it was going to be a rather extraordinary painting if he ever actually got the thing done, because it's an extraordinary drawing.
So is that oil paint?
You know, I don't know exactly. Let's see if I have it here.
Because I would think even though it's a study, there is color, but it's very subtle.
You know what? I'm going to have to back up a little because I got that wrong. This is Peter Paul Rubens' copy of what Leonardo was doing.
Oh,
Or they destroyed it because it was not drying.
wow.
The material is probably it's a drawing material, I think. But so this is Rubens' drawing of it. But the next one, this is a portrait of Michelangelo. I found some interesting things out about Michelangelo that I didn't know. He also wrote poetry, and he liked to write rather ribald poetry, they said, pornography, in other words.
Huh.
And he made lots of obscene sketches, and he wrote crude poems. I didn't know that. But he did his study for it was the Battle of Cassina that he was going to do a great big mural of in Florence in 1506, and it never got done. I'm not sure the reasons why, but this is the study that um, he did for it. But this also was a copy that was done by another artist at the time, Sanialo. So it's not the hand of Michelangelo, but it's drawn from however far he got with his mural project. Interesting writhing forms in both the Leonardo, the Rubens study and this one. Writhing forms in battle. And you might notice the figure, the male figure kind of in the center, but a little bit to the left, that's sitting on the edge of the rock. You see that? Nude? Well, they're all nude.
Yeah.
Doesn't that look like one of the Sistine Chapel figures?
I can see it.
Yeah, a lot of it. I forget. It was one of the prophets in the quarters. Yeah, Leonardo and Michelangelo both had reputations. I didn't get to tell you everything about Leonardo yet because he was actually, according to history, he was arrested once.
Dang.
And when he was 23 for indecent public something. He did something in public. And there's not a lot of detail about it, but you know, these guys, they had quite a life going on, and still managed to do this extraordinary art. So if you're not becoming famous as an artist yet, you might be living too wholesome of a lifestyle.
You just gotta stop being a square and then you'll get famous.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now, just to clean it up a little bit, I did send you the email with the article about the great women artists, right?
Yes.
All right, because this is about men and women who had some kind of reputation of one kind or another. And this is a self-portrait by a painter named Elizabeth Vigée Lebrun from 1782. It's just an extraordinary painting. I mean, very beautiful woman, right? And beautifully painted with her palette. And she, in the 18th century, women had to work really hard to get accepted into the serious art world. And despite these difficulties, Elizabeth was considered one of the greatest portrait painters of her time, even surpassing most of her male peers.
Good.
One of the books I read, Charles, said that a lot of the women artists that were successful were related to artists also. Like they had their father was an artist and then they painted in his studio. And I don't know about her, whether she was related to an artist or not.
No, that'd be a good question. I didn't come across that. I have seen her work before.
Her
You know,
father was either an artist or an art dealer.
Who was?
Her father.
Oh,
was either
really?
an artist or an art. Actually, I read a biography on her a couple years ago. There's actually a really good book about her and everything. And it, I learned things about the time in which she lived, the French Revolution and everything that I didn't know
Nice.
by reading this book.
Well, it's hard to do better than this for a portrait, in my view. It's got everything going for it. So I have another one of her paintings here called Peace Bringing Back Abundance. And again, just a beautiful composition and completely equivalent of her peers and her abilities as an artist. And this one was a little bit, it's going to be hard to see this, but the same artist, this Lebrun, self-portrait with her daughter. And what I read is that we can see the first real smile with visible teeth in Western art.
Oh my gosh.
Now, if you enlarge it and it doesn't get too fuzzy, you can see that the woman, you can kind of see her teeth. But you learn as a portrait painter, you want your clients they want to smile and they want a big smile, but you have to talk them out of it because it doesn't hold up well on extended viewing in a portrait. It starts to look kind of creepy after a while. So
I love the skin tones and the softness that she has captured.
yeah.
And she is really great on all of those folds in the clothing and different fabrics. And I see that most of them have sort of a faded background. I really
Yeah.
like these.
Yeah, I think they're extraordinary. And the reason I put her in here as one of the female bad boys of art is that because of this painting, by showing the teeth in this way, she was attacked by critics who accused her of outrageous seduction.
Oh my gosh.
And I read that it didn't take much to shock the reactionaries of the time. I don't know how that was understood at the time, but I mean anything but I would say is okay. So there's Elizabeth, and now of course we all know about Artemisia Gentileschi, right? We have the great one at the DIA,
Yes.
and undeniably a great painter, and she see what I got here was if there is one artist in this ranking who has particularly suffered from an environment composed of many toxic masculinities, it's her. So in other words, they gave her a hard time in different ways. And here's one example. Here's one of her great paintings. Is this someone at the DIA? She did more than one. I don't think this is the one. This is her painting of Judith slaying Holofernes. And when she was still studying art when she did this, and she was assaulted by her private art instructor, and she was later blamed for it.
Gross.
Mhm.
I often wondered, Charles, she had so many incidents in her private life that she painted religious pictures, but the religious pictures she painted were very violent. You know, like
Have
this
you ever
one.
read the Old Testament? That's mostly what it is.
I know, but she really highlighted that and
Yeah, she did. She definitely got right to it. You know, she had some kind of thing for it, and all the more power to her. It's just great art.
yeah.
Okay, so now who's the one female artist, much more recent, who we can't leave out of this list? That you do hear a lot about her now, right? It is none other than
Frida.
Frida Kahlo.
Frida Kahlo. Yeah. This is rather unusual double portrait, but what I understand is that she was said to have had an acidic temperament. So some of these people just express this kind of what we're talking about is disturbing art in their art, but some of them were disturbing people as well. Okay, so that's what's being suggested about her personality. I've read a little bit about her and her famous painter husband, and they didn't exactly have an idyllic life together, but she gets a lot of attention. Personally, I've never really been overwhelmed by her art, and this is really unusual, kind of like a narcissism being expressed here, you would say, wouldn't you? And the gruesome portrayal of the heart. You see that?
Oh,
Hmm.
Two hearts in the chest.
Yeah. Pretty harsh there.
They're what?
It's harsh. I mean, it's very dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're holding hands, so I don't know if it's self-love or what. Oh, and then the blood on her white dress too. And then another artist who's quite well known for being disturbed is who? None other than, you know who painted this? I didn't even know until a couple years ago.
no.
Go. Vincent van Gogh. It's just called Skull with Burning Cigarette.
Okay, I thought it was gonna be a woman. You tricked me with that one. I have seen that one before.
Okay, yeah. Um, it's an amazing painting, and he certainly was one of the true bad boys of art.
Maybe the American Cancer Society should use this.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I don't think they really knew much about the health effects of smoking back then, did they? It seems like everyone smoked practically.
Hmm.
I don't know if they knew them, but they smoked anyway.
Mhm. But they didn't know as much as we know now, certainly.
Right.
All right, so that Van Gogh, and then there's some artists I'm not very familiar one coming, or this one in particular is called Paths of Glory by Christopher Nevinson. And it's obviously a very gruesome battleground scene. It's a 1917 painting. And the title of it, Paths of Glory, quotes from a line from Thomas Gray's poem, Elegy, written in a country churchyard, was the name of the poem. A line from it is, the paths of glory lead but to the grave. Now, the artist himself, Nevinson, who painted this, was he served as a volunteer ambulance driver on the Western Front in World War One.
Then he must have seen a lot of this.
Yeah, yeah.
Is he British? Do you know, Charles? Or what country?
Nevinson, I'd have to say British artist, C.R.W. Nevinson, yep.
Yeah. So, such a contrast to the same German artists that were producing at that time, right? Otto Dix and all these other guys. I mean, talk about gruesome.
Yeah.
They took, they really showed you the gruesomeness of war, didn't they? Who's some of the other, who I'm thinking of?
The German expressionist, like Otto Dix was one.
Yeah.
That
just amazing painters.
They definitely were. I never thought of any of them as having depicted battle scenes specifically, so I'll have to look into that. But they did. The German expressionists were definitely responding to the horrors of war in their work in different ways.
Yeah.
And World War II, from what I read, they're all pretty bad, but it was especially the trench warfare was especially grisly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's lighten up a little bit. And another one, Picasso was definitely one of the bad boys of artists, right? We've all read about him and, his lifestyle and everything. But undeniably, looking at his drawings is what you really have to get into a habit of doing. So this is a drawing by Picasso of a cat. It's a very basically sketch, you might call it, gesture drawing. And he just captures it with a minimum amount of line and a little bit of value.
Look at the lines on the cat's neck. So free and moving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure they didn't, every time they made a little sketch, it wasn't great, but again, I have to wonder if what you read about these guys, I haven't read that there was necessarily a lot of alcohol or drug abuse by these people. Picasso, maybe somebody told me once he did drink a lot, but you kind of have to have some kind of sobriety of some sort to keep doing great art for your whole life. And he lived to be 91. So I think he probably got high on his artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another one. I love this Picasso drawing of the bull. He did have this kind of death obsession and morbid obsession with the bullfight. But it's just a great drawing.
And it certainly captures the spirit of a bull.
Yeah. And I do have a note here. In 1907, Picasso hired someone. I think someone told me this recently, but Picasso hired someone to steal some small African sculptures from the Louvre.
Mhm.
And just a few months after that, he wanted them to he loved the African sculpture that he saw at the Louvre, so he paid someone to take the risk and steal them. And he used it in the studio, and it wasn't only a couple months later that he would reveal his groundbreaking Cubist work, La Demoiselle d'Avignon. Isn't that amazing? He was inspired by this stolen African sculpture to make what's considered one of the greatest paintings of modern times.
Wow.
Now, I did hear that he returned it to the Louvre somehow. So it can't be too hard on him, I guess. Because
That would make a great movie of Picasso trying to return it to the Louvre. I mean,
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
go to the front desk? Do you call for the director? What do you do?
Exactly. And we've talked, Andrea got me interested in the book The Art Thief, and I think everyone should read it.
I think that was a note at the end of the book.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's how I heard about it. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that maybe he had that same guy sneak them back in.
The same guy what?
Maybe he had the same guy, sneak them back in.
Well, there's been too much of a time difference, I think. Wouldn't there?
What do you mean?
Well, when were the art thieves were stealing what decade?
In the 90s.
Well, Picasso's thing would occurred in the first decade of the.
Yeah, but I think Picasso, the guy he paid to steal them, is probably the guy that put them back.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's
yeah.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably you could probably just drop them off on the porch when they were closed, and they would. But anyway, it's an interesting story, and
Could you tell me the name of the author of The Art Thief?
what is it, Andrea?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I gave the book away.
Yeah, Fiddle. I think it's who asked the question?
Patrick.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, Patrick. It's just a great read, a really great read.
I'm always
It's Michael Finkel, Finkel.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem.
And jumping ahead now to 1955, Niki de Saint-Phalle. A very pretty well-known contemporary artist, and this is called Black Standing Nana. And she was known for doing sculpture like this for a while, but in 1953, after a deep depression, followed by an artistic convalescence, she decided to devote herself fully to painting to exorcise her demons.
Oh.
And I don't know a lot about her. I did not know a lot, but I love this sculpture. However, she's also known for some performance painting, it was called, in 1961. This is her with a gun in a gallery. And she called it performance painting, and she would prepare these very large panels and decorate them with all kinds of objects, different kinds of objects. And then she would also add to the panel aerosol cans of spray paint and balloons filled with paint. And then she would take a rifle, this is in the art gallery, and start shooting at it. Which of course would explode the paint balloons and the spray paint cans, which would then spread color over the entire surface of it.
That sounds like a riot, an absolute riot.
Nuts. Especially getting rich and famous for it.
We should have a class in that at PCCA.
Great idea. I don't have a gun. I've never owned a gun, but we'll get.
Bring your guns and.
The only thing holding us back, Charles doesn't have a gun.
It looks like she's
People in the house
wearing
next
a
door
dress.
don't like noise, don't want a parking lot. How would they like that? Okay, I'll stop talking.
It would get pretty loud firing away in the gallery, and I don't know how many people were in there when it occurred, but not to be outdone. In 1971, Chris Burden did a piece called Shoot.
Oh,
Now, I heard about this going way back. I didn't know about Nikki St. Valley, but Chris Burden in 1971 hired a friend, hopefully a good friend, to shoot him in the art gallery. Sigrid, you look speechless.
well, I'm just wondering if the audience ever yelled out any comments or if they were completely quiet, no matter what they felt about the art, because they were feeling endangered.
Well, yeah, and I just hope that, the guy was a good aim, and apparently he was, because here he is getting bandaged, and he shot him in the arm.
Yeah,
Well, I heard. Sorry, Charles, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I heard that the museum was really upset with them, and they weren't invited back, or like something happened as far as like the museum making a comment on it. I don't know if they were aware. I don't know. This is something I read a while back. I don't know if they were aware he was actually gonna get shot. Thought it was a stop, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, I don't know. I heard about this back in like undergrad at CMU, that people were talking about it, and this was, it was done in 1971. It was not a high caliber gun, because a powerful gun would have just shattered the arm. So it was probably it would have been like I don't know. I'll have to try to read more about it. But look at how young he is. And I saw a video of him as a much older man, where he was talking about it a little bit. But so just a couple more, if this isn't bad enough. You probably, I don't know how many heard about Andy Warhol's album cover art. Remember Andy Warhol?
Yes.
Okay, who knows
Yeah.
the band? The band called the Velvet Underground. Who's heard of them?
Yeah.
No.
Come on, somebody must have.
Yep, I've heard of him.
Who said that?
Andra?
Oh, Andra. Okay, good. Because it was the scene in New York in the 60s, and everything like on the West Coast was like peace and love and Jefferson Airplane and psychedelics. But on the East Coast, it was like a deeper kind of dirty, grungy scene. Hard drugs, and the Velvet Underground were a band that Andy Warhol managed for a while. Lou Reed was one of the major figures in the band, and John Cale, and they did some pretty gritty music, let's say, performing in Andy Warhol's factory. And Andy Warhol designed some of their album covers. This is the famous one called the Banana album. It's Velvet Underground album. And I have one of the original pressings of it, where you could actually peel the sticker off. There was a banana underneath the sticker.
Fancy.
Yeah, and my daughter has it now, but he did this one, and he also did this one. Remember this? Yeah. Come on. You guys
Yeah.
are
I do remember that one.
all right. The Rolling Stones album Sticky Fingers, from about the same period of 1970 something. And the zipper works.
That's
I hate
really,
that.
really cool.
I'm still thinking about the banana, Charles. Do you think that gave that guy the idea to tape that banana and sell it for a huge amount recently? He taped a banana on a canvas.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, I never thought of that. Now, don't get the idea that the Banana album cover had anything to do with this album cover.
Okay.
All right. And all right, here's the other one that you probably heard a lot about, Jean-Michel Basquiat. He became he was discovered on the streets of Manhattan by Andy Warhol. And he was just selling little paintings. Like you see that a lot in New York and big cities. And Warhol thought he liked the painting. So he kind of took him in and got him cleaned up, and got him doing big paintings like this. And the guy, Basquiat, became a huge sensation. who knows about him? Who's heard of Basquiat? I've talked about him a number of times.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, my mind is going to his teeth. Remember the woman who was persecuted for having a
Yeah.
first smile? This
Right.
man has clearly gone beyond just a small grin.
Yeah. So he did he made this rather strong imagery, and there was a movie made about him with Julian Schnabel, the painter, made a movie called Basquiat, and David Bowie played Andy Warhol. It's a good movie. Pick it up and watch it, and you'll learn a lot about the art world in New York, and it's just a good movie. Unfortunately, Basquiat, Warhol tried to get him off of drugs, and he never succeeded, and he died from a drug overdose. And about 30, he was 30 something. You can see his work at the DIA. Okay, now finally, this one. Does anyone remember the whole scandal over this piece?
No.
Anybody? Serranos? It's from 1987. There was a big thing. Congress got in on it. It's called the Piss Christ. And Serranos took a plastic crucifix and put it in a jar of urine and exhibited it. And there was a outrage and a scandal, partly because Serrano had received a government-funded grant, taxpayer money, from the National Endowment for the Arts, and he did this piece with it. And many people found it to be blasphemous, and he received death threats and hate mail over it. Now, I have to say that I found it blasphemous, and I was very offended by it too, initially. I have to say now that part of it's the photograph, but I think it's very beautiful. And I think he was saying something a little more subtle than people thought he was. Any thoughts on what that might be?
That an object does not represent the actual idea.
Sorry, say that again.
That an object may not always represent an actual idea or encompass more than it represents.
Yeah,
makes sense?
it's just an object. It was a as I remember reading, a plastic crucifix. That
Right.
It
It is just an object.
It's just an object, but if we think about it as a much more than that to many people for centuries now, is he really mocking it or blaspheming it necessarily? What else might he be saying by this?
Well, a lot
It
of
might be-
paints were made out of funny stuff, including some made out of mummies. I think they were talking about, I read about that, some parts of mummies. So maybe he took that idea and just carried it a little further.
And also,
it's
it might be looking at God in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
That
Don't
it
they
might
talk?
not-
Oh, sorry.
No, I just wanted to say it might not be the same way that everybody looked at God in the past and went to look at God in a new light.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so go ahead. Another comment?
Yeah, I have just one more. I know they talk, so I grew up Catholic, but we talk about the blood of Christ a lot. But what's different in the body fluids, if they're all just bodily fluids in that way, why can't it be representative,
Okay, all right, yeah, you can say that, but also the idea has been expressed that he was really suggesting that contemporary culture has really devalued the kind of status that Christianity once had, or maybe should have, in his view, in the world, by commercializing it, by degrading it in different ways. So I think it may well be true that he was making more of a reverent statement about the Christian faith than seems like he was at first. Okay. And finally, not to leave out the one and only Chris Ofili. Remember the scandal that came up with this one a while back? Chris Ofili from 1996. So long ago already. Okay, Chris Ofili was an artist from Africa, And he did this piece called The Holy Virgin Mary. So it depicts the Virgin Mary. And he applied elephant dung to the painting. And it caused an uproar. It was one of these things, like, especially on conservative media, they were just going ballistic over it. So when things calmed down just a little bit, Christophily himself said, well, in the part of Africa I grew up in our culture, elephant dung was considered sacred. So context is everything. Right. Now, if you just want to be a keyboard warrior, kind of tough guy, you could always go this route and stay in your basement and I couldn't resist this.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Charles.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You